when Taylor Swift was all over your For You page for this?
So it just came out that Taylor Swift has used her private jet to take 170 trips this year.
Her plane racked up more CO2 emissions in 7 months than 1,100 average people would put out in a year.
This is the biggest polluter by jet planes in a year when she's not even touring.
Well, it's way worse than you thought. All those little trips you see celebs like Taylor Swift, Kim Kardashian, and Jay-Z take on their luxurious private jets are being subsidized by you. Yes, really. Private jets make up approximately 1 out of every 6 flights handled by the Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA. But they contribute just 2% of the taxes that go towards the fund that helps improve airports and the airway system for all of us. Meanwhile, commercial passengers like you and I finance about 70% of the tax revenue for that same fund. 2% for the Kincaid's.
Best, most exciting part of the plane is it's all cashmere.
70% for us. Why the discrepancy? Commercial passengers pay a 7.5% tax on the price of each ticket they buy, in addition to a facility charge of $4.50 per ticket. So an hour-long flight with 100 passengers on board, paying $100 a ticket, for example's sake, would generate $1,200 for the FAA's Airport and Airways Trust Fund. Private jet owners and flyers, on the other hand, pay a tax on jet fuel for each flight, about 22 cents a gallon. So a mid-sized private jet that burns a conservative 200 gallons of jet fuel for an hour-long flight will pay just $44 to the FAA's fund. So how have the richest among us snagged such a sweet deal, the same way they always do?
I have money.
The largest player in the private jet lobby, the National Business Aviation Association, has spent an average of $2.4 million each year since 2008 lobbying the federal government, primarily for tax giveaways like this one. That's how we got into a situation where Elon Musk, with a net worth of over $230 billion, can take 171 private flights, emit 2,112 tons of carbon emissions, and pay less in taxes for flying in 1 year than we do for flying commercially just a few times a year.
So obviously, we're taking a lot more than we're giving. And that leads back to my contention that we should be paying more taxes. It ought to hurt.
That's Stephen Prince. He's selling his private jet after reading a joint report by the Institute for Policy Studies and the Patriotic Millionaires about how bad private flying is for the environment and the public at large. The report found that about 1% of people are responsible for about half of all aviation carbon emissions.
It should not be so painless when you're worth $400, $500, $600 million to be able to fly across this country and spew all this carbon into the environment and use up all the infrastructure that you're using, and you're not paying enough to where it hurts a little bit when you get on.
Private jets produce 10 to 20 times more carbon emissions per passengers than commercial planes. Even those short hop flights, say a 17-minute flight from Van Nuys in LA to the nearby town of Camarillo, are horrible for the climate, since a great deal of emissions come from takeoff.
Right now, the planet is suffering from the warmest temperatures in 125,000 years. And the billionaire fat cats are just paying pennies to enjoy all the privileges of their wealth, but everyone else suffers.
Fortunately, actions are wrapping up to ensure that they feel the pain. This summer, Abigail Disney, of the Disney Empire, took to the Hamptons with 12 organizers to block the entrance of a private airport frequented by the ultra-rich and their jets.
Not another billionaire!
Over in Washington, Senator Ed Markey is advancing a bill called the Fat Cat Act to make sure that wealthy private jet flyers pay their fair share of taxes. It would increase fuel taxes on private jet travel from the current measly 22 cents per gallon to $1.95 per gallon, a 9-fold increase that would help fund additional green infrastructure.
And that fund will create hundreds of millions of dollars, which we could then use for environmental justice. We could use it for air quality monitoring. We could use it in order to make sure that we have more mass transit in the United States to reduce the footprint of carbon in our country and on our planet that is created by these billionaires and millionaires in their fat cat private jets. And there's one thing we know, they can afford $2 a gallon. Thus far, they've just been escaping their responsibility for all of the harm which they're causing to every other family in our society and on our planet.
Listen, do I think this tax increase is enough to stop Kylie Jenner from flying over LA traffic? Probably not. But in the last 20 years, the number of private jets across the world has increased by 133%. And that percentage is only expected to increase from here. I don't know about you, but those numbers don't sit well with me. So I like to look at this as a first step of many in our effort to disincentivize high flyers and, at the very least, make them pay.
To the billionaire fat cats who want to ride free in our transportation system, we have a message for you. You're grounded. We're going to make sure you now pay the price.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you want to see more stories like this, like and subscribe to the channel to get more perfect union in your feed. And if you have any ideas for stories you think we should investigate, drop them in the comments down below.